What is going on, everyone? My name is Zandy. Welcome to the first Let's Talk FPL Christmas podcast. So this is going to be not about FPL. It's going to be outside of that. It's not something I do very often on this channel. There will, of course, be some FPL stuff in relation to YouTube and my thoughts around working in FPL and stuff like that. But in terms of what captain for Game Week 15-16 wildcard squads is going to be nowhere near this video. So I know a few people said to me, just stick to FPL and stuff. By the way, the minority said that to me. If you don't want to watch it, that's absolutely fine. If you do, then stay tuned and I'll talk about what it's about. So it's a similar idea for anyone that watches True Geordie, right? He does an FPL, no, he doesn't do an FPL podcast. He does a Christmas podcast every single year with a few other people. Now, originally the idea was to do this with other people. And to be fair, I asked James and Suge from Planet FPL, for anyone that watches them, probably back at the end of November, start of December. And to be fair to them, they both said yes. It was really up to me to get it sorted, and it got so busy over December, I didn't get it sorted. So another time when I'll come up with an idea and not execute it, which is a bit annoying, but maybe we can grow this if people like it year on year and do it. Like I said, a bit similar. I quite like the True Geordie one when they get a lot of people together. And it's just to talk about, for me at least, to talk about something different to FPL. So the premise is going to be, I've asked for questions on Twitter and on YouTube. I've ignored anything that's to do with FPL specifically for this season or in the next few game weeks. And rather than go, this person asked this, here's the answer, I've kind of put them all together into kind of topics and questions, because a lot of people asked very similar questions, if not the same question. So I've kind of put them all together. It's just going to be me in front of this screen. It's going to release, but the other reason I wanted to do it, by the way, was almost like an alternate Queen's speech. So for anyone from the UK or maybe from other countries that watch it, at 3 o'clock every Christmas Day, 3 o'clock on Christmas Day, Queen does a speech, which is pre-recorded and stuff. And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I hated that. Because for us, when I was a kid, you would have Christmas dinner about 1:30 in the afternoon. And then basically when I was a kid, you used to get like a little stocking of presents, and that would be just me, my sisters, mum and dad. And then you might see some other family who couldn't come for the whole day during the morning. And then at about 1 or 1:30, you'd have dinner, either on either just us or with the rest of the family as well. And then you weren't allowed like your big main present, right? And it was the same for the rest of the family, like my cousins and stuff, until the Queen's speech had been on at 3. So I hated it. You finish dinner, it's like 1:30, 2 o'clock. You want to go and get some presents, and you can't because you got to wait for the bloody Queen to do her speech. You know, my granddad, my nan, and my aunties and uncles, they all wanted to watch it, mum and dad, etc. So you'd have to wait till 3:10 when the speech was done, and then boom, it was straight into presents time, right? So I used to hate that. I've got to be honest, I don't particularly watch it now. And I usually launch my videos at 3 o'clock. On a normal week, most of my videos launch at 3 o'clock, like team selection and stuff like that. So it kind of worked out perfectly to do it in the Queen slot. And I appreciate this time of year, for some people generally, but especially this year with COVID and stuff, there's probably people who haven't been able to travel. Like, I haven't been to England now for a year to see my family and friends, which kind of sucks. And I'm sure there's a lot of people just hanging around on Christmas, not necessarily either not celebrating, which is fine, or maybe are just stuck somewhere they don't want to be. And look, there's billions of people in the world, and if 1 or 2 of you want to watch me talk, why not? And obviously you can watch this after Christmas Day as well. You don't have to watch it on Christmas Day. So yeah, I guess we'll get into some of the topics and questions and just go from there. It's just going to be me in front of this screen rambling, right? If that's not what you want, I really would say just turn it off now. And if you enjoy it, hit that like button. Subscribe for the FPL stuff after this. And let's crack into it. So I guess what the Queen does when she does her speech, for anyone that's not watched it, is she talks about the year that's been. Well, it's been a pretty rubbish year, right? And I'm not going to try and replicate the Queen here, don't get me wrong. But a few people did ask me about kind of lockdowns and COVID and stuff like that. So, I mean, straight away, one question was just, it might be a soft question, which is not, by the way. This sounds like a soft question, especially if you're like a bit of, I'm not saying the person that asked this is, but if you're like a bit of a lad, you don't want to ask how people are doing. But it was simply that, how are you doing? I'm doing okay, to be honest. I think diet and exercise and stuff like that is not going anywhere near as well because of what's happened this year, because I'll talk about it a bit later on, but I have found out since all this started, like, routine is key for me, and when that routine is broken, I struggle to create a new routine, and I find out how much I like going to the gym, And working out from home, don't get me wrong, right? The fact that I've got a few weights knocking about, I could take some stuff from the gym that I go to is great, and I should be happy for that, but it's just not the same. So how am I doing? I'm generally doing okay. I think, look, me and my partner were supposed to get married in 2020. It didn't happen. We postponed it. We've postponed it to 2021. And so hopefully that'll all be fine by the time it comes around in the summer. Obviously, we're going to have to keep doing what we're doing and just waiting. So that kind of sucked, right? That wasn't good for either of us. But otherwise, I guess I'm doing okay because I have to keep telling myself I'm fortunate. Like sometimes, I'll moan to my missus about not being able to do this or that, and she'll do the same. And then, a few hours later, we'll be like, look, that does suck, but we are both fortunate to still be working, right? We've been able to work the whole time. As soon as, football not being around really was a bit of a killer for me because not only is it my job, it's also like my hobby as well with FPL, and it is a big time sink for me, football. And when that went, that was probably the worst period of this whole thing. Once it came back, I've kind of been okay because I work from home anyway. I'm not going to an office, so I don't miss all that. Obviously, not being able to go out and see people or just do what you want is a nightmare. But there's people in worse positions than me, and I don't. It's a bit like. It's not really the same, but the only analogy I can think of, surprise, surprise, is football. You know how footballers, they get paid loads of money, and then if they say they've got mental health issues or they're just not feeling great, a load of people will reply, you've got all that money in the world, what does it matter? I feel like in the same place where I should be happy because I'm in a better place than other people, but it still sucks, right? It still sucks for me. It sucks for anyone that you just don't have your freedom. Someone asked me, what do you miss most about, COVID not being around or lockdowns not being a thing? It's just that freedom to go and do what you want. I'm not really someone that goes out all the time or anything like that. I was looking to get out every single weekend. We've got a kid and stuff like that. So, I mean, he's getting older, but he's not old enough to be left on his own. So we don't go out every weekend or anything like that. But you still miss that freedom when it's taken away from you. And so the ability just to fly back to England, that only takes 45 minutes, 50 minutes on a plane. It only takes a few hours to get to the airport. All my family and friends, obviously I've made new friends and stuff since I moved to Ireland, which I'll talk about in a minute. But all my kind of friends and stuff from college that I speak to, a lot of my best mates and stuff like that, and all my family is in England, and I've not been able to go back for a year. So pretty much every year I try and get back at Christmas. I do go more often than that usually, but at Christmas especially I try and get back, if not for Christmas, the Christmas period, like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, etc., like the week or two before. I've just not been able to do that this year, and that kind of sucks. It's the first time that's happened in a long time. So yeah, that's really not good. And so I'm doing okay, and I think, to be honest, FPL is it takes my mind away from what's going on, really. And in fact, I think it's only when this is ended I'll probably realise how bad it has been. I feel like in some ways I'm kind of ignoring it, and just going along with the rules, masks, not going out when I shouldn't be, not going anywhere I shouldn't be, washing my hands more than ever, sanitising everywhere. I think once all that goes, and I think stuff like sanitisation in restaurants and stuff should probably stay, to be honest, because I mean, what's the harm in being a bit cleaner, right? But in terms of just being able to go out when I want, go where I want again, and visit whatever country I want to, I think it's only when that happens I'll realise just how awful this year has been. And again, there's plenty of people that go through worse things every single year. And again, I'm in a very fortunate position, which I realise, but like I said, it still sucks, and I'll probably only realise just how bad it sucks when it all stops. One question that came along with this was the first place I intend to go, not the UK or Ireland, because definitely the first place I'm going is to the UK to visit family or friends when it's safe to travel again. Do you have a favourite holiday destination? The person that asked is, sorry, I should have written down the names for some of these questions. I didn't. But I quite enjoy Spain, Italy, Germany. I haven't really been much of a traveller. I've never been someone that really wanted to go on holiday, especially hot holidays. Because I used to hate the sun, basically. It's boiling hot. You're super hot. You don't want to do anything. But as I've got older, I've come to kind of appreciate that a bit more. So we've been to Spain a couple of times in the last, well, not the last year, obviously, but the last maybe couple of years before that. We went to Holland as well. In the last 5 or 6 years, I think we've been to Spain two times, maybe 3. And then Holland once as well. I think I went to Spain 3 times. Once with a kid for like a family holiday, poolside, family hotel, etc. Once with Barcelona with my missus, and then once to, I can't remember where it was. I should know. Somewhere else in Spain as well. And then we've been to Holland, to Amsterdam as well. So, Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, my missus wants to go to Italy. I'd be happy going back to Spain, just sitting by a pool, drinking some beer, and just not worrying about, when I next have to sanitize my hands, or when I, have to stay in my house for another 3 to 4 months or whatever. So nowhere in particular. I don't have a favourite destination, but Spain, I mean, I know Spain is so cliche for a UK person to go there because it's so close and so hot, but it is a nice place to travel to. So, yeah, Spain would be good. Germany, my missus wants to go back to Berlin. She went there for work, and she really liked it, so she wants to take me there. And, yeah, I think Italy is another place I would like to go to. So the 3 you've written are probably kind of top of the list, to be honest. I don't mind going on a plane, but they're just so boring. Like going somewhere like Australia, 24-hour flight, I'd really have to go there for a few weeks to warrant that. So yeah, it sucks what's happening right now, but hopefully we can get married this year, and hopefully we'll all have the freedom to do what we want in a few months when the vaccine's out. And yeah, let's see how long that takes and what happens next, I guess. Moving on, I didn't really want to start with that because I know it's kind of a bit depressing, but yeah, we'll move on to Christmas. We're here, Christmas in the house. Not spent too much time in this house so far. And there's a few different ones coming in. So Christmas plans. Obviously, my normal plan would be to go and visit or for people to visit us. We're kind of fortunate in Ireland that I've got to be honest, I've completely lost track of what the rules are in the UK. And obviously, I don't live there, so I don't follow it as much. But in Ireland, we're allowed, I think until just after Christmas Day, like Boxing Day onwards, I think we're allowed to mix with 2 other households. So my partner's sister is coming around, and her daughter, so my partner's niece, they're both coming around this year for Christmas dinner, which is nice. Good to have other people around. Obviously, we can't really have too many more people because you can't mix too many households and stuff, but they're coming around. So, I mean, the plans when it comes, because of FPL, the plans for Christmas are quite short. Like on Christmas Eve, I think I've got a stream to do for Fantasy Football Scout. And then that'll be all I'll do. I won't do any FPL on Christmas Day. Definitely not. I'm going to even try and turn my phone off if I can. And then Boxing Day, back streaming in the morning. But again, that'll be it. That'll be all I'll do until the 27th. So plans are obviously to stay in. A few people coming over. Presents, the kids still, excited about presents and Santa and that kind of thing as well, which is nice. And yeah, proper Christmas dinner. Like, there's so much food in the house. Like, there's only 3 of us here, and there's only 2 more people coming. And yeah, we could probably get another whole family here and just feed them as well. But that will last us all over Christmas, right? As it does. And obviously, turkey sandwiches the next day, maybe even a curry or whatever. So some of the questions that came around. I mean, there wasn't actually too many questions about Christmas. One of them was, especially over this busy Christmas period, it's easy to spend excessive time thinking about plans, transfers with the amount of games coming up. Do you find it easy to forget about FPL, or is it always in the back of your mind? It's probably in the back of my mind less than most people would think, considering I do it as a job. But it will be in the back of my mind. Like, by the time this video goes out, you'll have already seen I've made my transfers already. So that's one less thing to worry about. And Mo Salah is playing West Brom, so that is one less thing to worry about. So really, I'm not really thinking too much, luckily. But on Boxing Day, there'll be stuff going on family-wise. We'll do Zoom calls for a quiz and things like that. And in the back of my mind, I'll know the games are on, and I'll want to check, but I'll try and last until the end of the day to check. So I do find it difficult to completely switch off, to be honest. Not just because I play FPL, but also because I create content. So it's very difficult to fully switch off. But I do think if you can, it's really important, especially with the games, because there's so much going on. There's so much like this year's even worse with the blanks and the doubles and stuff like that. And you just want to enjoy Christmas. Like, it's only going to be a couple of days and then you're back to it. So you might as well make the most of it. So I will try and be off my phone for as much of Christmas Day and even Christmas Eve. Once I've done that stream on Scout, my phone's gone. Like, I can't be thinking about FPL on Christmas Eve when family's around, and also going into kind of Christmas Day and stuff like that. So yeah, it is difficult, but I guess you just got to try and work with it. And then, classic, favourite thing on Christmas dinner. I mean, it's pigs in blankets, right? Sausage and bacon, wrapped in bacon. I know that's so cliche, but they're one of those things that are so simple. It's just sausages and bacon. You can have them at any time of the year, but you don't, right? I tell you what will happen now on pretty much every Christmas table that is having turkey and pigs in blankets in the UK is people will eat them and they'll say, these are great. Why do we not have these more often with our roast dinners? It'd be like, oh, I can do that. Next roast dinner we'll have them. Next roast dinner you don't have them, and you don't have them again until Christmas Day, right? Because that's the only time you have them. So they are their favourite thing. Roast potatoes, close second, I would say, and stuffing as well, and then the turkey. Everything else is kind of a mixture for joint second. but Pigs in Blankets definitely the first for me. And I do like Christmas. I feel like, present stuff you just don't care about when you get as old as I am. But I think it's just all the thoughts back to how, good Christmas have been in the past, like lots of family around, spending time with friends. Like I used to, when I was younger, I wouldn't do it now, not this close to Christmas anyway. We used to go on a pub crawl every Christmas Eve. It was like a tradition. And then the hangover on Christmas would be a nightmare, so we kind of stopped doing it. But we'd be basically out in pubs and clubs until like 2 or 3 a.m. Christmas morning. And so it's good memory. So I always, Christmas has always been a good time for me. Again, quite fortunate in that regard, because I know it's not for everyone. So I always feel good around it. I'm always happy. I like Christmas music, always good. I mean, 3 favourite Christmas songs would probably be I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day. Merry Christmas. Is it called Merry Christmas Everybody? With Shakin' Stevens? I'm going to check while I've got Spotify up right here. It is Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas Everyone. I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day, Wizard. And then probably Merry Christmas Everybody by Noddy Holder, basically. It's not Noddy Holder, is it? I can't remember if it's a group. Is it? Yeah, I don't think it's a group, but that's the 3. Merry Christmas Everyone, Merry Christmas Everybody, and Wizard, I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day. Although Fairy Tale in New York would be in there too, so that's like a top 4. Anyway, that's the problem with doing this in one take, right? When you forget stuff. Okay, so that's kind of Christmas done, as it will be in a few days, or tomorrow. And then, so most of the other questions all came up around kind of mostly moving to Ireland and YouTube as a job. Now, I will say, I did something similar for my 100k subscriber Q&A. So for a lot of you, if you've seen that or if you've been following this channel for a while, you might already know most of this stuff. But I know I've got a lot of new subscribers and new watchers this year. So I'm just going to go through what came up, because I basically want to answer what came up. I didn't really have an agenda in mind. I think COVID, Christmas makes sense, and then, a bit of a free-for-all, basically. So moving to Ireland, right? So lots of people still don't realise this. Whenever I say I live in Ireland or I'm not from Ireland, people seem to get confused. So I'm from England. I lived there like 25 odd years, and then I moved to Ireland. I've been here, it'll be 9 years, I think, in February that I've been here. 9 years in February. I've been living in Ireland, in Galway specifically. So why did I move? Simple, work. So I won't go into too much details, but before I moved here, I worked for Currys. I went to uni. I've basically been working for Currys, Dixon's, since I was like 16. And then it was kind of on and off. I went to uni, I'd then come back part-time, I'd go back to uni, then come back, work it part-time, etc. And when I left uni, I went back there, and I hated it, to be honest. I don't know how I kept doing the job for so long. I guess because it was relatively easy to me because I'd done it for so long. But I hated it. I was a salesperson trying to sell insurance, and you were never allowed to say insurance. You had to say like extended guarantee or something like that, or whatever they call it. It's called Whatever Happens, I think it's called now. So you used to have to sell that. I absolutely hated it. As soon as you got to the part of the sale where you'd have to try and sell insurance, I hated it because I knew the majority of people didn't want it. Like, if anyone asked me, they get a straight no. Like, I ain't talking about this. I'm never paying you money for it. Even though some of them are actually quite good, but I won't get into that. But I hated it, right? Sales is not what I wanted to do. And then a mate that I used to work with at Currys, right? He left maybe a year or two before, maybe even 3 years. He put up a status on Facebook saying that he now worked for EA. And I was like, how the hell have you gone to EA, like from kind of Currys? And he moved on to, is it Comet? Was Comet the other one? I don't think they're around in the UK anymore, but I think that's what the competitors to Currys used to be. And I think that's where he moved. And then all of a sudden he's updating his status saying he lives in Ireland and he works for EA. So I was straight messaging like, what's it like working for EA? What do you do? How did that come about? And he was telling me, and he basically sold it that it would actually probably be quite easy for me to get a job there. So back then it was Star Wars The Old Republic. I don't know if anyone's heard of that. It's like an MMO. And back then it wasn't really EA. It was BioWare who was part of EA. And the whole place was just a customer service place for Star Wars The Old Republic. And he said, this is the pay. And I was like, wow, that's way more than I'm getting at Currys. And don't get me wrong, it's not like astronomical. But when you're working at Currys on like, not minimum wage, but not a very high wage. And plus, because I kept leaving to go to uni and coming back, I never had all my wage increases totted up. It just didn't work like that. So I was like, right, this is way more money than I'm on now. I don't have to be a salesperson. Okay, it's in customer service, but it's pretty cool. I'd always kind of not envied, but always liked the people that were like GMs, games masters in games like World of Warcraft and stuff like that. I always thought it'd be quite a cool thing to do. And so he told me about it, and he said just to apply, and I applied. I had an interview. I thought I'd screwed the interview up because it was really short. It was like 20, 25 minutes. I got all my answers across. And then I went to Curry's the next day, and I was in a foul mood. Like, I was so annoyed because I thought, I've blown my opportunity to get out of here, and I'm never getting the job. And then I got a call that same day, so basically the next day, about 5 o'clock, about half an hour before I was finishing Curry's, and they rang me up and they said, you've got the job. When's the earliest you can start? Because obviously notice periods, moving to Ireland and stuff. So I told him, and then I was like, boom, switch. I was super happy, and I came out and I told someone. She said, I knew you were annoyed today, like for whatever reason. She just said, I knew you were in a bad mood. And I was like, yeah, but now I get to get the hell out of here. So look, if you work for Curry's, that's great. Like, if you enjoy it, that's fine. But I hated it, right? So I was well happy to get out of there. And so that's why I moved to Ireland. And at the time, it was an 11-month contract. So it was like a temporary contract. But I just thought, what's the worst that can happen? I spent 12 more months working at Curry's, not being able to find another job that I want to do. In the town that I was in as well, there probably wasn't too much I wanted to do. And I thought, I'd just go and spend 11 months in Ireland. And the worst comes to the worst, I just moved back. So that's what I did. I just upped to move to Ireland. And then 9 years later, I'm still here. So that was my previous job, Curry's. And then I moved to work for BioWare. And then as Star Wars The Old Republic maybe wasn't as perhaps big as they thought it might be, the BioWare studio, the customer service studio, transitioned into an EA one. And for a while, it was just like customer support for Star Wars, and then it kind of slowly integrated over. Okay, now we do FIFA, now we do Battlefield, and then when I left, like just over a year ago now, then at that point it's like every EA game is kind of covered in that building in different departments. There's like QA, there's customer support, and it's just loads of stuff in there, right? So that's different now. But yeah, I mean, without going into too much detail, I loved working for EA. Like, it was really good. I know there's a image of EA outside, especially when it comes to how they treat gamers and stuff like that. But I tell you now, it was a great place to work. I would highly recommend it to anyone. I did various different jobs in there, which again, I won't go into loads of detail, but I started off as like a basically a customer service droid, right? Because it was for Star Wars, so it was all, basically immersed in the experience that you were a droid. So I did that, and then I went onto a night shift role. Then I moved into customer relations, which was dealing with like maybe high profile cases, either because the person's high profile, like influencers, YouTubers, sports people and stuff like that, or it's a high profile case. So they've gone, they're trying to create a legal case or something like that. So I did that for a while. And then I moved into the community team. But by the time I left, I was basically managing the forums for FIFA and a few other things. But the thing is, in EA, if you manage a few different games and one of them is FIFA, that's basically your main thing because it's so big, right, compared to everything else. So best and worst interactions at EA is something that somebody asked me. I don't know about worst ones. I'm trying to... when I worked on the phones for Star Wars, working on the phones is a nightmare, and that's one of the reasons I moved to customer relations, because I wanted to try and get off being on the phones all the time. And I didn't do that for very long, like the phone bit, because most of it was offline. It was just type in emails or in-game chat. But moving to the phone sucks because you just get so many idiots on there. They think they know best. They don't really. The customer knows best. Absolutely not. Complete rubbish. Best interactions. I once talked to Phil Jones on the phone to help him with his FIFA Ultimate Team. So that was one of the high-profile cases I did. I have helped a few footballers. So the guy that sat next to me, he was actually Irish, but he could speak French fluently. He rang Antoine Griezmann once. And I also inadvertently helped David De Gea, but through a translator, so I never actually got to speak to him. But again, it's all around FIFA Ultimate Team because they all play. But Phil Jones actually called up and spoke on the phone to him, basically to try and just help him out with his team and stuff. So he had a lot of players in his team that weren't Man United players, which I did ask him. I said, yeah, he said, this is Ultimate Team though. You need players like Ronaldo and Messi, which I thought, fair enough, right? So yeah, dealing with Phil Jones was good. And there's so someone's asked me a bit more. Would love for you to talk more about EA supports and your previous role as a community manager. Historically, the FIFA community is seen as quite a toxic one, and FIFA generally a game that people will always buy. And despite the huge money it has behind, people are always unhappy with the FIFA games that are released. Would be great to hear your opinion on all things EA and EA Sports and FIFA. I mean, that's such a big topic. I'd probably have to do a whole podcast on it. And obviously, there's only a certain amount of things I can say. Like, this is all my opinion, right? But I think one thing that maybe hurts FIFA a little bit is having to get a game out every single year. You know, you get these massive games like Cyberpunk and stuff like that that are worked on for years and years, and they still have bugs in them, right? And so imagine having to flip FIFA around every single year. I think that's one of the things that hurts it. But it's a football game. You've got to do that. Like, people will say, oh, you don't do that, just update the rosters and stuff. But it doesn't really work like that. So I think that probably does hurt it a little bit. You're right. People do buy it and they're unhappy with it. I think one thing is there's not really too many other football games, right? There's Pro Evo, but let's be real. Even if you're a big Pro Evo fan, it's miles behind FIFA in terms of the amount of people that play it, right? So Pro Evo is probably always going to struggle to catch up with FIFA at this point in time because FIFA is just so far ahead. Not to say that it never will, but Ultimate Team was the thing that really drove. I mean, this was before I even started working on FIFA, to be honest. Was the thing that really drove FIFA ahead of everyone else. And at that point, it's very difficult for Pro Evo or any other. Like, imagine the amount of money it would take to make another football game now to compete with FIFA. It would be absolutely insane. It would take a massive gaming company, and even for them, it would be a massive risk. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons people play it, because there's not too many other things to play if you like football. And I have this theory. Look, FIFA's not perfect, right? And I fully get, in some ways, why people dislike it at times. And you know, they'll make a change and then people will think that all these other changes happened even if they didn't. And you always hear, it feels like this has changed. It feels like that has changed. And sometimes I just think people put too much emphasis on the fact they've lost for changes that haven't happened in the game, if that makes sense. And people do play it. I have a theory that a lot of it is around football, though, because, and again, it's just my own opinion, but if I play something like Call of Duty, right, and people always blame other people, but you're playing in a team, you're playing team deathmatch. What do you do if you're losing? You blame the other people. Okay, sometimes you might say it's lag. You might say the game's not coping with lag well enough. I was behind a wall or whatever. I shot that person and then it didn't hit them even though it should have done. That was lag, etc. But most of the time, it's because someone's killed you because they're quicker than you and you get to go up and go again. You haven't necessarily lost the match at that point. You've only died once. You can blame your teammates if you're playing like team deathmatch or something. With FIFA, it's just you. So there's no one else to blame. Therefore, people blame the game, right? In Call of Duty, just as an example, this is, but it could be any game, you can blame someone else. You can blame a person. You can blame the internet. In FIFA, it's always the game, right? It's never the opponent was better than you. It's never that you made a mistake. You made the wrong pass. You tried to tackle at the wrong time. You tried a different type of shot. You tried a shot you shouldn't have. You shot from too close. You shot from too far away. The goalkeeper's in the way. None of that is ever the issue. It's always the game. And I think that's one of the things. And also, because it's football, right, you can play 60, 70 minutes and no goal goes in real life. And then in the computer game, the same thing. And then someone scores and they start defending. That's really frustrating because it has to be real, like football, that the game can't just change it so that it's easy for you to get back into the game. And if the opponent makes it difficult, it's very hard for you then to win that game. You've only lost 1-0, so it's a really slim margin. You don't get that in other games, right? If you go, like I think in Call of Duty, most of the time you got to like 7,500 points. If you're on 3,000 points and they're on 4,500, there's still plenty of time to get back into the game if you change it around. In FIFA, that doesn't really happen. And I think that kind of play people's minds a lot when they play, and that's what affects them and why they think it's so bad. And that loss can really hurt, especially if it's like last minute or something like that. In Call of Duty, you don't play for 15 minutes and then there's one kill at the end. Okay, maybe in certain game modes, I don't know, search and destroy, but even then the matches aren't that long. So you don't go 15 minutes, bam, one kill, game lost. It's like 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 kills. Whereas in FIFA, it's just that one goal. And I think that makes the loss feel worse. And that's where people get frustrated. And also, to be honest, like I hear my kid saying it now with Fortnite, right? He's watching so many YouTubers. He's saying the same things they do. He's blaming his ping. He's blaming his lag. He doesn't have a clue what ping is. He's just hearing YouTubers say that, and he's blaming it too. And I think a lot of that happens with FIFA. Like, there's a lot of good FIFA YouTubers out there, and there's a lot that just complain. They shout at the screen, that gets views. And then people, not necessarily now, but maybe back in the day. And I think that's what people do as well. So I don't think necessarily everyone's thoughts on FIFA are their own thoughts. But again, you've also got to consider the millions of people that play it. There's a lot of people that are quite happy with it that just aren't vocal on social media. Most of the time, you're always going to hear the ones that hate it on forums, on Twitter, etc. So that's worth bearing in mind. But I've just spoken a lot about FIFA when I said I wasn't going to talk too much. But there you go. That's just some thoughts on it. This was supposed to be about moving to Ireland. What is daily life like in Ireland compared to England? It's not too much different, to be honest. I think I said this on the 100k subscriber Q&A. You always see those things that say something like, here's how you know you live in Ireland. Usually 50 to 75% could just be for England as well. It's not that much different. I prefer, like, especially maybe not, I don't know what Dublin's like for nightlife. I've not been there for a while. But if I went out in Galway, I like the pub atmosphere and stuff like that and the kind of bars that you go into. It's not really the same in the UK. To a certain extent it is. But I don't know, you get more like Irish pub, obviously because you're in Ireland, but like Irish pub style vibe. And I really do prefer that. But day-to-day life, it's not that different. It's not that different, I don't think. I mean, the people are different. Maybe more friendly on average, potentially, but not by a huge amount. So yeah, I don't think it is that much different, to be honest. I love it here, though. I do genuinely love it. Like, Galway's great. I've not really got any plans to move from here. It'd be nice to be closer to home, but it's also nice to live in Galway. I do like the town. I think it's a really nice place to live. I do like the town with all the pubs and stuff. All the bars are nice, and you've got Salt Hill is good as well. So I do like it here, and no plans to move. And so yeah, day-to-day life, pretty similar. Well, I guess I haven't lived in England for like 9 years, so maybe day-to-day life is completely different now. I don't know. So the last two kind of topics are YouTube as a job, and then miscellaneous, and then some FPL stuff. Again, not really... who to captain and stuff like that. So YouTube is a job, right? Loads of questions. Again, people asking about money. I'm not going to talk about how much I earn from this or my other job or whatever, because I just think you wouldn't ask anyone else that. But YouTube, for some reason, it's like a free-for-all. You can ask how much money. Like, I'm not going to tell you. I can tell you that I'm not yet doing it full-time on my own. But who knows? Maybe one day. We'll have to wait and see. So YouTube is a job. Is YouTube my full-time job? Yes, but not this channel, right? So I work for Fantasy Football Scout. I manage their video content. I'm on some of their videos. I'm uploading stuff and presenting and whatever. That's my job. And then this is like the hobby that I did whilst I was at EA. One of the reasons I left EA was not only to do FPL and YouTube as a job, but also to give myself more time to do Let's Talk FPL, which I think has worked out this season. So that was one of the reasons that I left. Someone did say, tell us your thoughts the moment you thought you'd do YouTube full time. It wasn't an easy decision because I certainly wouldn't have left when I did just to do Let's Talk FPL full time, because that would have been a big risk. And even now, YouTube ad revenue is not reliable. It's not sustainable usually. Things like COVID can really hit it hard, and suddenly you're making a lot less money even though you're putting the same work in. So having a salary at Scout is obviously handy. And that was really the push that made me leave EA. I had nothing against EA, never really actively looked to leave, but when FPL comes up, you kind of snap someone's hand off, right? So the thought didn't take too long, but I did have to think about it long and hard. But really, I don't know. I did think about it long and hard, but then I was like, yeah, I should just do it. This is the chance to do it. I'm not going to get a better opportunity than this. I can spend a bit more time on my YouTube channel at the same time as not spending so many nights on it. So I think that was the key for me, is like and again, this is me in a fortunate position being able to do this and not complaining, but some days I would be up, leaving for work at 7:15, starting work at 9, and the gap in between is just for commuting and dropping kid and missus at work and school and stuff. Start work at 9, finish at like 5:30, then go and pick up, not get home till 7, do kids' homework with him, eat, and then maybe start doing my YouTube stuff at like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and then rinse and repeat the next day. So this allowed me to do more of that during the day and spend less evenings on it. So that was another consideration. It wasn't really about money at all. It was about getting the chance to grow something I love, work in something I love, and have more kind of manageable hours as well. All right, so that was kind of the key for me. Someone said, how do you explain your job to your relatives? It's difficult. I mean, I've only been doing it like just over a year, kind of full-time FPL and on YouTube, both via my channel and Scout. And so I've not really seen anyone, right? Because that happened just before December. December was the last time I went over. And then, obviously, I've not been back since because of COVID, so I've not been able to show them. I know my mum's showing my nans my YouTube channel, and apparently they do check in from time to time. But, of course, they've got no idea what's going on. It's a hard thing to tell your relatives, because it's not just YouTube. I think more and more people are now accepting that YouTube can be a job, although for some people it's like still super weird for them. Like, how can you make money making videos online, etc., even though it's been a thing for so long. But for me it's even worse because it's FPL, and then my mum would be like, well, so people listen to you talk about football, you're just talking rubbish. And I'd be like, yeah, pretty much, but they do like it apparently. So it is difficult to explain exactly how it works. I usually just say I talk about football online. I don't even get into the FPL stuff because that just makes it more complicated. Hang on, so you're not talking about Man United, you're talking about a fantasy player. Who the hell is this Vladimir Sufal? No one cares about that, do they? Only FPL managers do, right? Or West Ham fans. Any advice for someone trying to break into the FPL YouTube space? Do I churn out average content now to learn the ropes, or should I wait until I have a better setup, have learned how to edit properly, improved on speaking to a camera? Yeah, I mean, obviously it's nice to have the perfect setup and the perfect, speech on camera and stuff like that, but you do need to get going as well to get into it, I would say. Obviously, there's lots to talk about the YouTube algorithm and stuff, and if you keep putting out content that doesn't get views, that could hurt your channel. Exactly what the ramifications are of that, or what the exact numbers are, I don't know. But realistically, the only way you're going to improve on camera is to speak on camera. Like when I first did this, one of the reasons I started was not because one of the reasons because I just love YouTube and I've always wanted to have my own channel. Secondly, it was an accident that I did FPL because I actually wanted to stream games and I couldn't, so I just streamed FPL instead. And also, in my job at EA, I wanted to be like a community manager on camera and stuff like that. These days, I probably wouldn't want to do that, actually, be a community manager like that. But one of the things I wanted to do was get better at speaking on camera. And again, I've said this millions of times, go and find my first video on YouTube, watch it compared to now. There is a massive improvement, right? I always say, you might not like what I do, you might not like what I say, you might think I'm rubbish on camera, but I am much better than I was 4 years ago, right? So you're only going to get better by starting. So you just got to start and you've got to enjoy it, right? I'd always do a team selection video. If you're starting a YouTube channel, make sure you do a YouTube... if you're starting an FPL YouTube channel, make sure one of your videos is a team selection one because they're always the most popular. You can do other videos around that. You'll find it much harder to grow if you start off by just doing captaincy or just doing a preview or just doing something on stats. That's still good stuff, right? And it's still good content if you make it correctly. But team selection is how you'll kind of grow. So talking about your team, whatever you want to call it, but talking about your team is what people like to watch, right? And it's quite funny because if you went and asked someone on Twitter, what content should I put out? They would pretty much never tell you to put something out about your team. I'm telling you now on YouTube, that's what works. Someone asked, what do you think about the fact that your videos help lower your rank, as in they get worse? So my rank will not be as good because I make videos, because obviously I'm trying to help people. And it's an interesting thing because there are some people, again, very minority, that think what I say I don't agree with. Like, I don't really think that. I'm just saying that to put out content and I'm making a different decision. But when you're showing your team constantly, if I did that for 38 weeks, people would stop watching, right? So I do say what I believe. Like, if I believe that Salah is the best captain for Game Week 15, that is what I'll say, right? I might change my mind on a game week where it's a bit close, but at the time I'm saying what I think. And in terms of helping other people so that hurts my rank, it is a funny one, because I've said on stream, joking around before, I hope you have a good week, but I hope all your weeks are worse than mine, because I want to win the whole thing, right? But I do enjoy just creating videos, and it is a proper passion of mine. Like, I've been playing FPL for 10 years now. I've been creating content for 4 years. This isn't just something I've set up to try and make money from or anything like that. I generally enjoy it, and I generally enjoy talking about it as well. So helping people out is absolutely fine. But I do generally want to win. So I do help people out and hope they do well, just not quite as well as I do, right? So we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll win the whole thing one day. And also, what do you think about people copying your team? Look, it's inevitable in the way that I do my videos and setup, because I stream on a deadline. You can see my moves. You can see what transfers I make. It's very rare that you won't see my transfers. If someone wants to copy my team, go for it. But one thing, I've never won FPL, right? So if you want to win it, maybe think for yourself. It's boring as well. And who, like, if someone wants to copy my team, I don't care, because they're not the kind of people I want to interact with, really. They're not really people that enjoy FPL. If you enjoy FPL, you make your own decisions, right? And of course, sometimes people are going to make the same choices because there's over 7 million players. There's only so many players to choose from, right? I'm not going to be the only person choosing Salah captain in any given game week. But yeah, I'm sure there will be people out there. I can't do much about it. If they want to play the game like that, then that's extremely boring and not a great way to play, right? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? I've got no idea, because I sometimes think to myself, am I really going to be sat here talking about FPL in 5 years? Maybe I will. Maybe I would have adapted my channel, adapted my show. Maybe I'll have another YouTube channel alongside it. I don't know. And I've never known. I've never known what I wanted to do. No matter when I get asked this question when I was 16, 18, 20, 21, I've never really known what I wanted to do. I've always kind of wanted to work for myself, right, and have my own business or something like that. And I guess with this channel, that's a very similar thing. It's not like buying and selling goods. I once tried to I never actually got going with it, but I researched about setting up an eBay shop. I just wanted to work for myself, really. So I want to keep doing that. It is nice, the flexibility of working kind of from home for yourself. Obviously, I still work for Scout now, but it's a very flexible job outside of kind of the fact that, FPL is a demanding business to be in because there's always stuff to talk about game week to game week. But it's generally quite flexible. But I don't know. I don't know in 5 years. I don't have a game plan. I don't have an end goal. I would really, really like, once I finally get an internet upgrade, to branch out into gaming, maybe do some live streams with games, maybe set up another YouTube channel. I think I probably overthink setting up another YouTube channel because I kind of think I want to talk about life, like stuff like this, just talk, ramble in front of a camera. But I also want to have a specific genre because it's easier to grow. But is that games? Is it diet and fitness? Is it me trying to get fit and healthy? Or is it just me talking about whatever? Talking about football? Is it Man United specific? Lots of stuff to think about. But I would like to do that at some point. But is YouTube going to be my job for the rest of my life? Probably not. But for now, it's going well. I'm enjoying it. Why would I stop? I'm not really worried about the future and what my job is. Hopefully in 5 years, I'll have broadband, the broadband of 2012, basically, in the next 5 years. That'll be my hope for fibre. Best and worst things about working full-time in FPL and from home. The thing with FPL content, I always say this, is there's always something to talk about when FPL is on, right? There's always an injury, a captaincy decision, a transfer to be made, a suspension or something like that. So there's always people that want to watch content, which is great, right? Because sometimes you'll create content, there's no one that wants to watch it. But for FPL, there always is. The downside is, I do think you have to be quite consistent with the videos you put out. I've talked about this before. You can't make a video in Game Week 2 and then not make another one until Game Week 5, right? You can sit there and say, okay, from Game Week 2 to 5, these are the players that I might target. That's fine. But as soon as one of them gets injured, that content is useless, right? So you have to be there every single week. And obviously, the more content you can make, the better. I've kind of, I used to just do 1 or 2 pre-recorded videos with a lot of stuff in them. Now I've kind of split them up into smaller videos throughout the week. But I've got the luxury of being able to do that. It's not necessarily easy. So I think that's the best and the worst thing about FPL is there's always something to talk about during the season, but at the same time, you can't easily just take a break from it. You've got to keep going. And to do that over 30 weeks is very demanding. It's very difficult. And I think it's one of those jobs where if I moaned to you that I was tired from making videos and that, you'd be like, geez, you've only had to sit in front of a camera all day. Like, what's the problem? And you're right, but you can't just sit here Game Week 16, Salah's good. It was against West Brom. You've got to be like, okay, now I'm energetic. This is good. I want to talk here. So it's not an act because I am kind of like this when I talk about it and I do enjoy it. But you've got to be more upbeat and energetic. You can't just sit there saying whatever and just be like, yeah, Salah, he could be good. And like next week, I'll probably get him Mane, get him Rashford or whatever. So it's not physically demanding, but it can be mentally demanding. Like, over Christmas especially, I've recorded sometimes I've recorded like a week's worth of content in 2 or 3 days just to get it out because the game weeks are so quick turnaround. And that can be quite draining. It is on the voice, but it's also mentally draining as well. So that is the bad thing. The fact there is so much to do. If you want to take a break, it's not easy, right? And I always think now, like, I've got all this content over Christmas. What if I wanted to go away next Christmas? What would I do? Would that hurt my channel? And that would be on my mind, right? So that's the best and the worst thing. In terms of working from home, I love the flexibility. No commuting, right? I used to have to commute for I was driving for like 2 or 3 hours a day, which is ridiculous. While working from home some days as well, because I had to take the kids and take the kid into school and then go and pick them up, take the missus to work, and then grab her as well. Or she would sometimes get the bus home. But either way, I was driving a lot every day. No commuting is so good. It takes off so much time from your day. It's unbelievable. I can go to the gym in the morning, walk the dog in the morning, and then start work either at the time I would have done if I had an office job or even earlier sometimes. Clock off earlier, right? There's nothing to do. Well, guess what? I'm already home. The bad thing is obviously you're always within the same four walls, which everyone is right now because of lockdown. But that's the only downside. I don't really miss working in an office, to be completely honest with you. Like, it's great to be able to do stuff and then go and chat to other people. That is nice. I probably miss that a little bit. But the benefits of working from home are so much bigger. Like, I just want to keep doing it. And again, I'm lucky enough to have an office where I can go into. I've got a nice setup for streaming and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't really miss it, to be completely honest with you. Your thoughts on that? So Simply FPL asked this. Your thoughts on being one of the leading voices in FPL content? I mean, yeah, at this point, Let's Talk FPL is probably one of the biggest channels across like podcasts and video and stuff like that. I don't really think about it too much. Like, you know, I don't consider myself an expert. I've never said that. Do I know more than the average person in terms of how FPL works and how blanks and doubles? Maybe, right? And I'm talking like really average, someone that just picks it up, bam, Friday, make a transfer, put it down. But I'm not like, I hate the expert thing. I really do, because nobody calls themselves an expert. People just complain about experts. So it's a really stupid thing. I guess as you get bigger, you attract more people, and then you're obviously going to get, like, there's always a certain percentage of idiots. And so the more people you've got, the percentage stays the same, but there's obviously a bigger volume of them. And then once you get bigger, you start getting put into like a category. Like I always see on Twitter, like, big accounts to do this, big accounts don't do that, or whatever it might be, or I hate that big accounts do this. And like, you're still the same person. It just happens that maybe you're a bit busier. So before you may have had 10 people messaging you, now you've got 100 people messaging you, or whatever it might be. Like, I always see that big accounts don't reply enough on Twitter or something like that. Well, I checked the other day, and I think I would have had to send something like, I think with my mentions for the month, it was something ridiculous, like 200 odd extra messages a day, or maybe even like 600 or something like that. But I'm going to check it right now just to give you an idea. So I have been mentioned in December, this is on the 23rd, 18,000 times, right? So if I divide that by 23, if I got, now obviously not everyone's asking me a question, sometimes I'm just being tagged and stuff, but if I got back to every one of them, it's 782 tweets a day just to get back to every time I'm mentioned, which is absolutely crazy and something I'd never be able to do. And that's on top of all the ridiculous amount of tweeting I already do. So that is one of the problems, I think, with growing an account. There's bigger expectations from you. And it's the same with my streams. I'll sometimes, not so much now, but I'll sometimes hear about my streams that they were better back in the day because I could get to more people. You could get your question answered. It's just not realistic now. I can't, when there's 5,000 people watching a deadline stream, I can't reply to 5,000 people. So I have to cover the general topics. And so that's probably one of, I mean, you haven't really asked this, but that's probably one of the things about growing a channel and getting it bigger, right? That kind of thing happens. So otherwise, look, if I happen to be one of the leading voices in terms of just general reach, then fine. But I don't really think about it. I don't consider myself better than anyone else or anything like that. It is what it is. I enjoy it, and I just want to grow it because that's what I like doing, not because I think I know more than anyone else, because I definitely don't. I definitely don't. They had a question on another pod about how we look at games when we do FPL. One tends to use other eyes when doing FPL, not noticing brilliant plays from non-FPL assets. Yeah, I'm definitely like this at times. If I've got a certain player, like Stuart Dallas for Leeds, for example, I'm always thinking about where is he on the pitch? Is he getting in the box and stuff like that? And I probably do take my eyes off the rest of the game at some points, but I try not to do that. I am conscious of it. You've hinted you have some ideas for improving, changing Let's Talk FPL. Can you spill the beans? Not really, because it all relies on, I mean, first of all, getting fibre and then going from there. I think I have tried to improve recently with my graphics on captaincy, game week preview and stuff like that. But there's more I want to do. But I hate talking about stuff I'm going to do and then not following through on it. So I'd rather keep it quiet and then see if I can work on it in the background. You've mentioned a couple of times in your YouTube videos that you love what you do. I've probably mentioned that a few times today because it's something you enjoy too, because it's a game. But what else would you consider doing as a job? Again, I don't know. It's like the 5-year question. I don't know what I would do if I wasn't doing this. They go on to say, I'd assume graphic design or multimedia. Graphic design, no way. I'm so bad at design. Like Photoshop, I'm awful.
I'd much happy if someone else do that for me. I pay them. But obviously it's not always possible. I do most of my graphics for in-stream, but like in videos, but like the thumbnails, like the backgrounds, the blue and the yellows, that someone else did that for me. My stream setup, someone else has done that for me. So yeah, I don't know what I would do as a job. I'd probably still be EA, to be honest. So there we go. Miscellaneous stuff. So FPL Legends. So people always want to know what the shirts are in the background. So I'll be quick, because I've talked about this before. Antonio's up there, not because he was fit at the time, but because he scored 4 goals for me at the end of last season against Norwich. Absolutely mental game week. So 26 points he got. And was just generally brilliant for me post-lockdown. Atsu was a player I got in one of the first years that I streamed, and he was a really cheap player. He was only in there as an enabler. Think of someone like Socek. It was basically Atsu back in the day for me. And I had to keep trying to say to people, he's only in so I can get a better squad elsewhere. And he ended up scoring and getting an assist and stuff like that. And people on the stream always remembered it. So he's in. Leighton Baines, basically someone I know who still watches the stream, Adam. I was thinking about getting Baines in, and he messaged me to say he's starting in a particular game week, and then he ended up not starting. And basically they changed the team at a time where Adam got the team, and then they changed it before kickoff. He even sent me a picture of the original team with Baines on. And then, because of that, because he was at the ground, because he's a journalist, he got me the team sheet with Baines and Coleman on and got them both to sign it. So I've still got that somewhere here. So that's why Baines is up. Raul Jimenez is up because I got on his first season when he was amazing. I got on him on game week 5 and I basically held him for the rest of the season. 5.5 million. He was brilliant. McNeil, because I bench boosted last season, I think, in a single game week. I got 2 Southampton defenders, both got 6 points. I got a Burnley defender with 6 points. That was 18 points on my bench boost. And Dwight McNeil, out of nowhere, I only got him in for the bench boost. He got 14 points in a single game week. And he should have had 17, right? He should have got another assist. So it was just an epic moment. And in the hacked thing, last year I got hacked. My FPL account got hacked. They made loads of transfers. And I was basically forced to use my wildcard when I didn't want to. And then the season just went kaput after that. I finished like 160k. So that's why that t-shirt's there. So I just went through them quickly because I've talked about it before. And it could take a while to go through them all. Someone asked me, what do you think about playing FPL and hoping for a Liverpool or a City win? So I get it, right? Because if Salah scores, I'm kind of celebrating. I'm like, yeah, I've got 5 points, etc. He might get bonus points. I've got him captain. But I do distinguish the two, right? I appreciate that the two are entwined. If I'm hoping for Salah to do well, technically I'm hoping for Liverpool to do well. But I don't really think of it like that, right? If Salah scores a last-minute goal and Liverpool get the win, I'm only happy that Salah scored. I haven't even thought really that Liverpool have won. And maybe that's a bad thing because some people will put... It's not that I'm putting FPL first. I just don't think about football like that when I'm watching for FPL purposes. When I'm watching Man United, I don't really care who scores, whether they're in my team or not. Obviously, if I don't own Bruno Fernandes, it's much better for me for Rashford or Martial to score because they're lower owned, right? But I don't really care about that. But when I'm watching Man City or Liverpool, I'm not sat there hoping they win. I'm hoping my players score FPL points because me hoping City lose doesn't stop the FPL players scoring points. Obviously, the ideal is Salah scores a hat-trick and then Liverpool go on to lose the game. But we've got to be realistic, right? Just because I'm sat there wanting points isn't the reason Liverpool are winning. So for me, the two aren't the same. I don't think of it like that. I'm not sitting there hoping City Liverpool win. I'm sitting there hoping my player gets points, kind of disregarding the fact that probably plays into a win at the same time. Life being a YouTuber, how to manage it like an everyday vlog. How does your family deal with it? I mean, one other thing with YouTube, and especially FPL, is if something big happens, like there's a big injury or something, you kind of want to go and do a video on it, so you kind of got to drop... Like when the double game week's got announced, like, right, have to go and do a video on it now. So that can be a bit not frustrating, but sometimes you just don't want to. Like if you finish for the day, you just want to be finished. But they deal with it fine because most of it's done during the day anyway. There's only a bit in the evening. I've done it for so long now, it's kind of become part of life. And they're very supportive, to be honest. This is a bit out there. What is your opinion on getting drunk, losing control of yourself? Have you ever had such an experience, and how bad was it? I've got to the point where I'm kind of like sleeping in town on the floor or whatever. It's not great, right? It's not fun. I've not been much worse than that. I mean, after a few minutes later, I was up, getting into a taxi and going home. But I guess you kind of just forget what happens. It's not great, is it? I don't want to bring a depressing way to end, but
yeah, it's not good. I mean, I will still probably drink too much sometimes when I do drink, and the next day, like these days, I really regret the hangover. Like, it's just not fun at all. So it's not big, it's not clever, but it is a culture in England and Ireland especially, and yeah, people do drink to lose control, like on a night out or whatever, and it ain't fun. No one wants to be having to be held up by their friends or being sick or anything like that. It's just not nice at all. I don't know why I answered that question because it hasn't really gone along with everything else we talked about. All-time Man United 11. Schmeichel in goal, but I will say big shout out to Edwin van der Sar and David De Gea because they definitely deserve a place as well. So Schmeichel in goal, Gary Neville right back, Evra left back, Stam centre back. I love Stam. Well, I know people like Vidic and Ferdinand, but I felt like Stam had it all. He wasn't bad on the ball, but he was quick and strong. He was like Vidic, like times 10. So probably Stam and Ferdinand, probably maybe Vidic, but yeah. So Neville, Evra, Stam, Ferdinand. And then I'd probably have to go 4-4-2 because that Beckham, Keane, Scholes, Giggs is so good. Carrick could be in there as well. He was obviously awesome. But Beckham, Scholes, Keane and Giggs, like that four, back when 4-4-2 was played more often, was brilliant. And then up front, look, Cantona was kind of around when I was young, but I was too young to really remember him. So I always go with players that I remember. Has to be Rooney, absolute club legend. And Ronaldo. Job done. Don't think I've missed out too many players. Let me know below. Gym training, goals for New Year, diet and exercise. Yeah, like I said at the start, like routine has been killed this year for me. I just need to get back on it. I love the gym. I just need to get in a routine where I'm going 3 to 4 times a week and just really getting on the diet. I'm not one of those people that's like, right, I'll just wait till January to do it. But because of the way lockdowns worked, and now we're into December, close to Christmas, it has kind of got to the point where, okay, I'll go straight after Christmas, but it's going to be close to January anyway. So the goal is just to continue to lose the weight and get fitter. Like I was in a really good place. This year's kind of screwed it up a bit. But the only good thing is, and it is hard to not beat myself up, I've not got back to where I started. Like again, you go and watch some of my earlier streams and check the difference. It's ridiculous, right? So I've not got back to those kind of bad levels, but I am probably worse than I was in March or something like that. Because and maybe it's an excuse subconsciously, but yeah, that hasn't happened. So gym, I want to get back in. I don't necessarily have a goal for lifting a particular weight or something like that. I just want to be consistent, get the weight off, and then maybe start thinking about, you know, what weights to lift and not what to lift, but like goals in the gym and stuff like that. Okay, last couple of questions. Your opinion on what would make football a more enjoyable spectacle, stuff that annoys you or that you change would be interesting. VAR is just ridiculous, right? I was all for VAR, and I'm not necessarily against it, but I'm not for the way it's been implemented. For me, if a decision takes like 5 minutes of watching, that's the clear and obvious thing is just gone. Like no one listens to uses it anymore. If it takes 5 minutes to make a decision, it should just stay with the on-field ref after like 30, 40 seconds, right? You shouldn't have to keep looking over and over and over and over and over again. At that point, it's not clear and obvious. Let the ref do it. The offside thing is frustrating, but I kind of get it. Like when you're looking at millimeters with like shoulders or armpits or whatever, that is frustrating, but it doesn't necessarily put me off. It hasn't stopped me celebrating. I know a lot of people say that. I haven't stopped celebrating. Maybe it's different if you're in the stand. I don't know. And what really annoys me is the way the players treat the refs. I hate that. Why have we let that happen in football? Rugby's a different sport, I fully get that, but the respect in rugby for the ref is ridiculous. They stand there, they listen, ref makes a decision, they take it. I'm sure you can find me some examples where that hasn't happened, but most of the time when I watch rugby, that's what happens. In football, the amount of shouting and abuse the ref gets, they don't necessarily get round the ref as much as they used to, but they're showing cards, like they're mouthing off. Refs should just book them, they do it again, send them off. And look, I feel like that's a bit of a yada approach to it. Because it wouldn't be great for a few weeks, but when people get used to it, just leave the freaking ref alone. If he makes a decision, okay, sometimes it will be a bad one, but not all the time. Refs generally make good decisions, right? So that does my head in. I hate the way players treat the refs. So it's just not cool at all. Shouting at the lines person, shouting at the ref, whatever. Get it gone, I think. In terms of making it more enjoyable, I think those kind of things, I still like how it works. I know that, you know, back in the day, tackles were harder and stuff like that, but I don't think that really makes it more enjoyable, to be honest, seeing a leg breaker. And yeah, I think we'll leave it there because it's basically been an hour. I've rambled on. I'm sure no one's actually got to the end. If you have, leave a comment below. thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. It's something a little bit different. Maybe in future years I can make it a bit more concise with other people, certain topics that we discuss, and things like that. And I know I've repeated some of the stuff from the 100k Q&A, but I wanted to go through a bit. Look, hopefully whatever you're doing today, because this is going out on Christmas Day, you're enjoying, whether it's celebrating with people, whether it's being on your own, just watching some films, playing video games. I would not blame anyone for doing that. I'd love to be doing that. I hope you're having a really good day. If you're watching this after Christmas Day, I hope it's been enjoyable, something a bit different. And so yeah, Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a good one. I hope you have a good New Year, and I hope in general things get better for all of us. We get our freedom back and get to do what we want. It's been a weird year. I think we've kind of got through it. It feels like we've got through the worst of the stuff now, and hopefully it only gets better from here. And yeah, that's me out. That's me trying to be the queen. Not really, but you know what I mean. The 3 o'clock slot for the queen. Can't be dealing with it. Right, as it stands right now, if this is an hour, it's 4 o'clock. It means I've eaten too much. It means I've probably drank too much. I'm regretting having to stream at 9:30 tomorrow morning. That's probably how my day has gone. So there we go. That's my day. Hopefully yours is as good, if not better. And I'll be back tomorrow on Boxing Day for normal FPL content. Thanks very much for watching. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you soon.